What's up guys, Josh here of Tech, and with Oppo launching the Reno 3 series, their latest mid-range smartphone lineup aims to reach all four corners of what it takes to be a well-rounded device. Last year, the Reno 2 received good recognition with its seemingly bezel-free screen coupled with its ingenious front camera setup. Now that we have the Reno 3 in our hands, let's find out how this device fares. Starting off with the design and construction, we have a generous display size of 6.4 inches along with its metallic-like finish around the trim. You'd easily expect this device to pack some weight to it, but at 170 grams with a thickness of 7.9mm, the Oppo Reno 3 is quite light to carry compared to other phones out there that share a similar design language. The Reno 3 series is available in 3 different color options: Midnight Black, Sky White, and Auroral Blue, which is what we have as you can see. At the front, the device looks pretty sleek with its thin bezels. The bottom bezel is thicker than the rest of the sides, but is still considerably thinner than most mid-range phones in this category. The Reno 3 skips out on the swivel camera that its predecessor had, and alternatively incorporates the more dated water drop notch design for its front camera housing. Unfortunately, we don't get a notification light for this device, which is an important feature that I usually look for in a smartphone, although some probably wouldn't mind this minor issue. Looking at the back, we can see the metallic gradient finish of the phone that gives a holographic-like reflection under ample lighting, leaving that nice aurora effect that is still subtle to the eyes. The edges are also quite curved, making it easy to pick up and grip. You can find the Oppo logo at the lower right corner, and of course the flash module and main camera located at the top left, which gets a shiny metallic touch around its edges. Like any other phone with a raised camera module, there will be some wobbling when placing its back on a flat surface, but slapping on a case should resolve that issue. On the left, we have your standard volume rocker buttons, along with a dual SIM card tray and a dedicated microSD card slot for extra storage. And on the right, you can find the power button and nothing else. I personally find it easier when they're both located just on one side versus having them on two, but some people might prefer this setup more. The top sits flush with nothing except the noise-cancelling microphone, while at the bottom we can find the USB-C charging port, the single bottom-firing speaker, main microphone module, and conveniently the standard 3.5mm audio jack for all the audiophiles out there. Nice. As for display and multimedia, the Oppo Reno 3 sports a 6.4-inch Full HD Plus AMOLED display with a body ratio of 20:9 and a pixel density of 411 pixels per inch. Now, it isn't the best display on a smartphone per se, but this is more than enough not only for day-to-day use, but also for multimedia consumption, as images are quite crisp with vivid colors at any angle. My only gripe with the display is the screen's brightness, which can be hard to view sometimes under harsh lighting conditions like when you're outdoors. Audio quality is good and is loud enough, especially when the phone is placed on a flat surface, giving it a little bit of a fuller sound. But since it is a single bottom-firing speaker, you could run into instances where you might accidentally be covering the speaker grills with your hands while watching a movie or playing a game in landscape mode, which is a general issue for phones with this type of speaker configuration. The Reno 3's rear shooter has a quad camera setup, specifically a 13-megapixel telephoto lens, a 48-megapixel ultra-clear main camera, an 8-megapixel wide-angle lens, and a 2-megapixel mono lens. As for camera quality, the Reno 3 exceeded my initial expectations and performed quite well as I was testing it in different conditions. Under well-lit environments, we get nice detailed shots and accurate colors. At the heart of its 48-megapixel sensor, the default shooting setting of this smartphone's camera is 12 megapixels, which is understandable as this helps save on storage space by keeping the resolution as low as possible without cutting out too much detail. Activating the 48-megapixel feature in the options enabled me to zoom in and capture more detail when it came to further subjects. Apart from these attributes, Oppo also touts the Reno 3's capability to display enormous poster-sized images of up to 4.3 by 3.2 meters using its 108-megapixel ultra camera feature. Testing it out with the cityscape as my subject, I was surprised to see how far I was able to zoom in. But halfway through, pixelation was beginning to get evident. Although it isn't the best phone when it comes to capturing far objects clearly, quality is still great, especially if you do decide to print this out on a large poster. With an 8-megapixel ultra-wide lens, images still look fresh, especially under ample lighting, and is capable of 109-degree photos after accounting for distortion. If you're into ultra-wide shots, then you're in luck, as the Reno 3 performs pretty well in this particular area. Trying out their ultra night mode was a bit of a problem though, as images gave out a heavy blue tint no matter what I tried. I'd like to believe that this is just a software bug, as I didn't experience these problems on the Pro variant whatsoever. If this is true, then hopefully this issue will be patched up in the coming updates. As for the front camera, we get a whopping 44-megapixel shooter that is automatically set to the Smooth and Beauty feature by default. Setting it to natural and proceeding to take some selfies right after, I was able to get some high-resolution shots with hairs and blemishes being quite visible, although it does lack a bit of sharpness, especially when in less favorable lighting conditions. Portrait shots were a hit and miss as the Reno 3 struggles to separate the foreground from the background every now and then, but for the most part, they work pretty well. When it comes to video, the Reno 3 can shoot up to 4K at 30 FPS and comes with an ultra-steady stabilization feature that helps keep shots looking smooth for those who have shaky hands. All in all, it may not be the best camera phone out there in the market today, but to put things in a better perspective, I wouldn't mind leaving my dedicated camera behind to use this one instead if I feel like being extra portable. The Oppo Reno 3 comes with ColorOS 7.0 based on Android 10 out of the box, which is one of the cleanest skins currently out there in my opinion. By default, the layout is set to standard mode where all your apps are located on the home screen. But there is also a setting for drawer mode and a system-wide dark mode, which is what I prefer as I enjoy a clutter-free looking home screen. Swiping to the left of the homepage brings you to their Smart Assistant section, where you can access quick functions like open apps and keep track of your step count. You can even subscribe to more services and view your upcoming events, the current weather, and even add your favorite contacts, which are all convenient to have on one page. Apart from their dedicated apps and Google services, bloatware was almost zero to none. This is really good to see, as most of the time I tend to download third-party launchers to restore some order to my phone and hide unnecessary apps that don't serve any purpose to me. And since you normally can't take out bloatware without a little tinkering, it does take up a certain amount of storage space, which is annoying. I'm glad that I didn't have to go through any of that with the Oppo Reno 3. When it comes to sharing files, Oppo has a built-in P2P sharing feature that is capable of sending files quickly not only between their own phones but also with cross-brands such as Xiaomi and Vivo, which I think was a good step on their end. Our unit has a storage capacity of 128GB that was more than enough for me. But if you feel like you need more, the Reno 3 conveniently has a microSD card slot with up to 256GB of expandable storage. For biometrics and security, we have an in-display fingerprint scanner similar to other previous Reno smartphones. If you're coming from a phone with a rear-mounted capacitive fingerprint sensor, this might take some time getting used to as tactile feedback is no longer present to assure your finger is placed in the proper position. In any case, it is quite responsive once you've gotten the hang of where to place your finger. Apart from that, it also offers an extra security measure via face unlock and does a pretty good job at it as well, taking only about a second to unlock right after pressing the power button. Heading over to performance, the Reno 3 is equipped with an octa-core MediaTek Hilo P90 processor paired with a PowerVR GM9446 GPU, which on paper is labeled as a low-end integrated graphics card for smartphones. As for memory, we get a generous 8GB of RAM, which helps keep running apps snappy and does not lag no matter how many applications I try to open. Overall, the Reno 3's general user experience as a daily driver was quick and responsive. There were barely any hiccups and gaming was a breeze. Call of Duty Mobile and PUBG were set to medium by default, but setting them on high didn't seem to cause any stuttering and maintained a fairly steady frame rate. After doing some benchmark tests, we can safely say that the Reno 3 can easily take on heavy tasks as well as moderate gaming. But if we're sticking to facts, there are some entry-level phones and slightly older flagship models out there that share similar benchmark scores at a more affordable price. To give you a better insight, the Reno 3's Geekbench 5 scores sit comfortably in between the Xiaomi Poco F1 and the Samsung Galaxy S8, which are still pretty decent performing devices to this day. Now, these specs don't blow anything out of the water, but apart from getting used to the physical layout, this device generally never gave me any headaches as I was using it. When it comes to battery life, we get a 4025 mAh capacity, which is a decent size considering how thin and light this phone feels on the hand. On average use, it was able to get me through the whole day and only needed to charge the device during the evening or before going to bed. In our standard video loop test, the Oppo Reno 3 lasted a total of 21 hours and 25 minutes of playback, which is impressive considering that this does have a full HD Plus display. To wrap it all up, the Oppo Reno 3 is an exceptional mid-range phone that performs well in all aspects and is a dependable daily driver that's more than capable of meeting your needs, be it for work, leisure, or play. And with a solid camera build on both the front and back, you can easily capture every moment, especially in well-lit environments. But Oppo should really do something about that Ultra Night Mode bug if you want to unlock the full potential of its camera and post-processing capabilities. With a price tag of 18,990 pesos, the Reno 3 is placed at a competitive value considering how well it performs. It's a little pricey, but if you're a multitasker looking for a power-efficient phone with a great daytime camera, this phone definitely deserves a place in your upcoming wishlist. So what do you guys think of the Oppo Reno 3? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and be sure to visit yugatech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. This has been Josh, and stay safe.